Do you remember a time when scary movies used to actually be scary? I remember. We had scenes like this. Or this.
Of our Lord Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with the Father and the Holy...
Now we get straight up dog doo-doo scenes like this.
Scraped out she was like a rotten pumpkin.
Or this. Yo, what's up everybody? How you doing today? Welcome back to the Film Archives, where I break down movies and I answer the question, was it worth watching? Today we're going to be breaking down The Exorcist Believer. And believe me, it will make you a believer that this is a pretty fucking terrible movie. If you want to see more content just like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more. I upload new videos every week. But with that out of the way, let's just get into the movie. This movie starts out in the locale of Haiti, and we're introduced to a man named Victor. He's a photographer, and he's working and taking pictures all over the beautiful island. We're briefly introduced to his wife. Her name is Soren, and she's pregnant, so they're both expecting their first child. So it's a very exciting time in their lives. Soren is going around the town. She's hanging out with the local kids of the island, and she's getting blessings from some of the spiritual workers there for her, for her child. Soren briefly visits Victor at work while he's taking pictures, and she informs him that the pregnancy's taking a lot out of her, so she's really tired, so she's going to go home and take a nap. During the nap, there's suddenly a friggin' really bad earthquake, and we're talking the day after tomorrow level of disaster. It destroys buildings, it's causing tons of damage. It's really bad. Unfortunately, Victor's wife, who is pregnant, gets caught up in the devastation, and she suffers severe injuries during this earthquake. She's rushed to the hospital, where the doctors inform Victor that due to the severity of her injuries, he can only save either his wife or their unborn child. A tough decision to make.
Tough time never lasts. Only tough people last.
We then get a time skip, and it's 13 years later, where we see Victor has now moved to America, where he's living and working as a photographer. We see that he is now doing the solo dad thing to a young girl named Angela. So it would appear that he chose to save his unborn child. And we're briefly introduced to some of his neighbors, and we see a man named Stuart and a woman named Ann, and they'll come into play a little later into the movie. So Victor's taking his daughter Angela to school, and we see that Angela has taken one of her dead mother's scarves out of her father's things, and Victor's not too happy about this. He's like, don't go through my shit, leave it alone. That's my shit to remember your mom. It's not your shit, so stay out of there. It's interesting. They have a little moment there, but Angela, she wants to do homework with one of her friends after school, so she kind of asks permission. Hey, Dad, hey, Victor, can I go over to Catherine's house to do homework together as soon as I get off school? And at first he's hesitant, but eventually he says, you know what, that's fine. Just make sure you get home by dinner time. We then see Angela and Catherine head off into the woods. It turns out they're not doing homework together. They're actually going into the woods to like a burnt down, abandoned house type thing, and, they're going to hold a seance. And they're going to try to contact Angela's dead mother. So pretty hardcore witchcraft vibes. It's not good. It's not good at all. I will say that the burnt down house in the forest is pretty cool vibes. It's very cool. We briefly see Victor still at work. He's, also just taking pictures. It's his... that's his thing. He takes a lot of pictures. So he comes home pretty late after working, and he finds that Angela still hasn't returned home, even though she said she would at dinner time. So he calls Catherine's mom, and the mom that she's supposed to be with is like, they didn't come home after school. They said they were doing homework at another kid's house, and we haven't seen them all day. At this point, they kind of freak out, and they're like, you know what, maybe they got taken. Maybe something had happened to them, so it's not looking too good. They all go out into the woods, and they find the location where they were last seen, and they find their shoes and some of their personal items, and they realize that the girls are like freaking gone and no one knows where they went. And the last thing anyone saw of them is that they went into the woods to go do the seance, but suddenly they're missing. So they immediately go to the police and kind of file a report. Maybe these kids got taken or they've run away. They're young girls, so they're pretty worried about this. The next day there's a full-on manhunt, like full on. It's crazy. They got the bloodhounds, they got the whole freaking police force. So the girls have been missing for 3 days at this point. It's really not good at all. It's really not good at all. Victor's neighbors, they offer to console him and, help him in any way they can. So, it's clear and evident that Victor's neighbors are very good people. We then see a random farm, and one of the horses has fallen over with like a fever. So, it's really out of pocket. It really has no connection to the movie whatsoever. At this point, the farmer taking care of the horse runs into the barn to get some medicine. And if I just knew that the girls would be in the barn because they were missing for 3 days. And even before this actually happened, and I saw it in the movie, I just knew. So I wrote in my notes, it's like, these girls are going to be in the barn. And sure enough, the girls were in the freaking barn the whole time. So they immediately turn the girls into the police because there's missing posters all over town. They've been missing for 3 days, so it's on the news, and it's not good. So they're immediately taken to the hospital where they begin examining them, and it appears that the girls have suffered severe burns to their feet, but other than that, they just thought that they were gone for a few hours. Like, they're missing 3 days worth of time. And that's like a missing 411 vibe. Like, I think we should do a video on that at some point. I really do. But anyway, the police question the girls separately, and their story remains consistent and the same, that, they just went off into the woods, they lost track of time, and they thought they were only gone for a few hours. They're also medically examined to make sure that they weren't assaulted or anything like that, and it seems that they're in good health, minus the burns to their feet. And I'm not going to lie, their feet are looking gnarly, brother. Like, super gnarly. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, the doctors examine them, and right off the bat, you could tell they're definitely possessed. I mean, look at this face, brother. Okay. Eventually, their health checks out and their stories check out, so they allow the girls to go home. We then see Angela at her home, and she's clearly not doing well. Like, she's pulling off her fingernails. She's trying to kill her dad, which is pretty abnormal, I would say. I don't really think kids normally try to kill their parents unless there's, like, something wrong, like severe mental illness type situation. And then she also does this weird violent vibration thing, similar to like one of those massage chairs, if you will, but in a human. So it's not good. It's not good at all, So Victor, at this point, knowing something's wrong with Angela, takes her back to the hospital and has her examined again. And one of the neighbors, Ann from earlier, actually works at the hospital, so she begins to examine Angela. Meanwhile, this is happening. We see Catherine, the girl that also went missing with her, in her church, and she's really just starting to lose it at this point. She's in church, and she's just fidgeting a lot. She looks very uncomfortable, and as the pastor's going around and giving you like the wine and the crackers, the blood and the body of Jesus, I guess. She just disappears. She's not having it, so she gets up and leaves. Miranda and Tony, her parents, are pretty worried about her, so they ask some of the kids, did you see our daughter Catherine leave? And they're like, yeah, she went into the back. She just dipped out. So they go back there and they see that she has just dumped all the wine on her, and there's blood. It looks like there's blood all over her, and she's kind of freaking out at this moment. She has like a full-on like a full-on disturbed moment, if you will. She starts yelling, the body and the blood, the body and the blood.
Body in the blood! The body in the blood! The body in the blood!
Let the bodies in the blood, let the bodies in the blood. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, Catherine full-on is just definitely possessed if she's doing shit like that in church, you know what I mean? We then go back to Angela in the hospital, who's being examined by her neighbor Ann, and she does a little demon voice. It's real spooky shit, you know what I mean? She starts telling Ann, the nurse that's attending to her, like secrets that she's never told anyone. She's like, I knew you were this and that, and I have a demon voice. Ann is like, I never told anybody about my secrets. I guess she had like an abortion that she never told anybody about. So she's like, there's no way you would know this information. What the F, what the F, David Blaine? So she pulls Victor aside and is like, you know what, I'm pretty sure Angela is possessed with something, because I've never told anybody about this stuff, and somehow she knows. So you got to do something about that, you know what I mean? It's real spooky shit. It's real spooky shit. Her father, Victor, he isn't really buying it. So Ann, the neighbor, and the nurse hands Victor like a book that was written by a woman named Chris McNeil, and she's the mother of a young girl named Reagan, who, guess what? was the girl in the first Exorcist movie. We're talking 1973. So this is a sequel 50 years in the making, if you can believe that. This was actually a direct sequel, but this is the only tie-in to that movie. So yeah, there's that. But, he looks her up on YouTube, and she's like a self-proclaimed expert in exorcists of all cultures and things of that nature. So, she seems kind of kooky, but she seems like she knows what she's talking about. So Victor decides to go visit this woman in her home, and kind of ask her questions about her own experience and things of that nature. And Chris basically just explains that, this similar situation happened to her daughter Reagan in 1973. Pretty epic stuff, not gonna lie. So the woman, Chris McNeil, she writes a book about the Exorcist 1973 and, sort of like a memoirs type situation. After that happened, her daughter just refused to talk to her. And, maybe she had some lingering trauma from being possessed by a demon. Not good. It's not good at all. We then see Victor return with Chris to the hospital where Angela is just full on demon mode at this point. So they decide, we need to meet up with a priest. So they meet with a man named Father Maddox. Chris, the mother of the original Exorcist child, she asks, where's the other girl? Where's Catherine? And Victor replies to her that she's being treated in her home instead of in the hospital. Chris doesn't think this is a good idea at all. So she's like, we better go to her home first, since at least Angela is contained and, we kind of have like supervision of her. We need to go figure out what the is going on with Catherine. They go to Catherine's house, and we see that her parents have become super distraught. They are not doing well. Their daughter is clearly possessed by a demon, and they don't really know how to handle the situation. So Chris shows up, and she's trying to perform some sort of ritual on Catherine. And during all this, Catherine starts doing her little demon voice. She's saying, mean shit. She's like, hey, I'm a demon, you little you're not going to like me when I'm a demon. So it's scary, and it's not good either. She starts talking like mad shit about Chris's daughter, Reagan, and, the previous possession that she dealt with. So yeah, she starts shaking the walls with some sort of, telekinesis powers, some sort of demon power. It's absolutely terrifying. And one of the crucifixes falls off the wall. So she winds up grabbing it, and she freaking stabs Chris in the eyes. So this is pretty much where she departs, because she suffered severe injuries to both of her eyeballs by them being gouged out by the crucifix. Really brutal stuff, dude. Really brutal stuff, not gonna lie. So Victor goes to visit Chris in the hospital where she's making a recovery, but she cannot leave because she's now blind from being stabbed in the eyeballs. I don't even know, dude. She advises Victor, you need to just get the demon out. They need to perform an exorcist, and they need to pull from all different cultures in the world, but the most important thing is that they all have people in common. So get them all together and use the spirit bonds, strength in numbers kind of thing. So Victor gets a group. He seeks the help of Father Maddox, the priest they met with earlier, and the preacher from Catherine's church. His neighbors also help out, and they have another healer from Haiti. Her name is Dr. Beehibe. They're all going to do like a group exorcist type situation. And honestly, this movie is so boring. It's like an hour and 15 minutes in, and nothing has happened except the scene where the woman Chris gets stabbed in the eyes. So it's really boring and just whack. But at this point, I put the movie in 2x speed, and I literally missed nothing. So, there's that. But they prepare a space at Victor's house to do the Exorcist. We then see that Father Maddox, the priest from earlier, is unable to join them. He's been forbidden by his church to participate because they think that the girls just have mental illnesses. So, instead of helping, he just gives Ann, the nurse, his Bible, and basically says, it's up to you now. You do the Roman rite, and it'll be okay. You're a warrior of God and stuff like that, praise Jesus. So they, they strapped the two girls to some chairs inside Victor's house where they begin to proceed with the exorcism, and both of the girls at this point are talking in their little demon voices, and they're just talking shit to everybody. So that's kind of enjoyable. I'm not going to lie, Yeah, they basically just like spit on the people and kind of taunt them. They're basically Giga Chads, if you will, Each of the members of the group perform a little bit of their own, ritual from their own culture, and they seem to be helping a little bit, but they're not really making much progress, so it's not really that good. But at this point, we're an hour and a half into the movie, and the runtime's an hour and about 45 minutes, so yeah, it probably is the only enjoyable part thus far, but it's fine. We then see Angela start talking shit to her dad while she's, strapped to the chair, and basically saying, you never wanted me. You chose to save your wife, Seren. Soon we'll be together, and I'm going to die soon, and the demon's going to kill me. So then the demons, as they're mocking them, basically say that, only one of these girls is going to live, that you need to choose one of these girls' lives. Similar to earlier in the movie, after the earthquake, when he had to choose between his wife Seren or his unborn child, but now he needs to choose between one of these girls, and only one can live. So, two girls enter, only one girl leaves kind of thing. It's freaking pretty Thunderdome status.
2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
Victor refuses to choose between the two children. He's not going to forsake any of the children, so he's like, I'm not doing that, and the demon's basically like, well, I'll just kill them both. Right when things seem to be getting really bad and they couldn't really get much worse, suddenly we get Father Maddox, the priest, kind of have a hero moment. He's decided that he's either going to die the hero or he's going to live long enough to become the villain. So he decides to be the hero, and he shows up into the house, and he starts saying the word of God and performing the Roman ritual of the Exorcist. Really spiritual stuff, it will give you chills. It's so good. And it seems to be helping. The demons seem to be getting really agitated and almost weakened, but then suddenly out of nowhere they use their telekinesis powers and they just brutally break this man's neck. So Father Maddox, rest in peace, you did die the hero. Let's get a moment of silence for Father Maddox, guys. All right, moving on. He died. And there's that, After he dies, Victor suddenly finds his strength, and he goes and gets the scarf from earlier, his dead wife's scarf, and is like, I know you're in there, Angela. Here's your mother's scarf. Please just come back to me. Demon, release my child, kind of stuff. It's really good, honestly. We then are shown Catherine's parents, and they're super scared at this point, from the demons and the demonic possession. So, they're kind of cowering in fear. And out of nowhere, Catherine's father, Tony, the piece of crap that he is, goes, you know what, I choose Catherine. Just kill Angela, demon. Let my child live, which is like really messed up. You know what I mean? It's super messed up stuff. But his wife is like, no, we can't forsake another person's child. How could you, Tony? And right at that moment, Angela just appears to die, and it's a very sad moment. Victor goes over there, he holds her in his arms, and we get a few flashbacks of when she was just a little baby. So it's a really, really emotional stuff, you know what I mean? It's really good. Shortly thereafter, we see that the demon actually tricked them and played a good little prank on them. And actually, the person who they chose was the one that the demon is going to kill. So we get a weird little scene where we see Catherine being like dragged to hell. And I don't know if this was supposed to be scary because it wasn't scary, but yeah. Catherine winds up dying, and Angela winds up living. Go figure, you know what I mean? Go figure. It's pretty wild stuff. So a little bit later, the cops show up, and, they kind of take away the dead bodies and, kind of like help the situation, I guess. I don't really know why the cops showed up because they were already dead. It's not like they're going to do anything. But yeah, the cops show up and they take away Father Maddox and they take away Catherine and, they take him to the hospital and they're both dead, so there's no helping them. But yeah, the cops show up, and that's that. Fun fact, Even the police will scare away demonic possession, so everything goes back to normal after this. We see Angela, she's now returned to school, completely normal and fine. You know, the demon has left her, and life kind of went back to normal, minus the fact that we see that her friend is no longer with her at school because the demon took her, and she died, so, you know, there's that. We see that Catherine's parents are kind of sad, and they're mourning the loss of their daughter, which would be pretty devastating to any parent, let's be honest. We then see Victor, you know, visiting his wife Seren's grave, and yeah, and there's that. We then get a scene in the hospital where the now blinded Chris is finally reunited with her daughter. So her daughter from The Exorcist 1973 has come in and decided to forgive her for writing the book about her experience. And, you know, they make up. And after that, the movie ends. And that's it. Was it worth watching? I would honestly say no, especially if you're like a fan of the original. It just doesn't live up to the legacy. I don't think it was very scary. It was like honestly, this movie could have been an hour and 20 minutes. There's probably, you know, a good 30 minutes of pure filler, which I did not enjoy because it really dragged on and it was pretty boring. And considering it's supposed to be a direct sequel, you know, 50 years later, however that works, who knows? But what the you know what I mean? I guess it's supposed to be the first in a series of remakes, so there's supposed to be like a new trilogy, and I'm not sure I want to watch any of the other ones. This movie also just lacks some of the groundbreaking moments from the original, and overall just wasn't that scary, I guess, you know? The acting was really bad, like this scene here.
What'd you say? I heard you say something.
What the hell, boy?
Terrible. Honestly, the best part of this movie was when it ended. And I say that being completely serious. Like, they played the Tubular Bells song, so that was probably the best part of the movie, you know, was when it ended and the credits started playing, and then you hear that classic, you know, Exorcist theme. Yeah, that was probably the most enjoyable part of the movie, but that will do it for this movie breakdown. If you made it this far into the video, please be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed it, and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more videos just like this one. I upload new videos every week. With that, I hope you all stay free and clear of demonic activity, and until next time, peace! Yo, we going and we flowing and we watching the shitty ass movie. It's so booty. It's the motherfucking Exorcist Believer. It can make you wanna leave her in the goddamn theater, cause you're asleep and you're snoring cause the movie's so fucking boring.